All right, the third rule of exponents is power to a power. Okay, with power to a power, well, let's just do it. So if you look at this, this might be a little bit confusing, but you're writing a to the third squared. So a to the third squared just means, well, I'm going to write a to the third 2 times. Well, we know this, a to the third times a to the third. This is 3a's, this is 3a's. Now altogether I have 6. Okay, a to the third to the fourth power. So that means I'm going to write this 4 times. Well, how many x's is that? How many times are we going to write x? How many times are we multiplying that together? 3, 6, 9, 12. Maybe you can start seeing a pattern here between these numbers and this number. Okay, y to the fourth squared. Y to the fourth times y to the fourth. Well, that's y to the eighth. All right, so the pattern is when you have a power to a power, you multiply exponents. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8 because it was power to a power. So those parentheses mean multiplication too, only for the exponents, but they mean multiplication just like they mean multiplication, when we see them normally. So again, x to the fifth is 5 of x to the fifth, x to the fifth, x to the fifth, 3 times. So that's x to the 15th, or 5 times 3. So this one is just x to the 20, yeah, because I can multiply. X to the 27th, and this one here is x to the 32nd. All right, so then we put extra stuff in there. Anytime we put extra stuff, it just raises each part of it to a power. Okay, so what you have to do is you kind of have to imagine. Now, we could do this 2 different ways. So xy to the fourth, I can write xy 4 times. Okay, so that would be, there's 4 x's and there's 4 y's. Great. All right, so it's the same thing. I'm multiplying exponents, but what you have to do is you have to imagine that the x has an exponent on it and the y has an exponent on it. So whenever you're doing these, you make sure that you multiply exponents. And I'm being very specific about this because of this 3. Okay, 3 isn't an exponent. You'll see this is 3a squared, so it's 3a times 3a. So that's 9a squared. 3 times 2 is not 9. Okay, so when you're doing this, when you're using this shortcut, if you choose to use this shortcut, you do 3 to the first power, a to the first power. If you give each one of these an exponent, then when you do this, you can multiply the exponents in. So 2 times 1 is 2, which would be 3 squared, and 2 times 1 is 2, which would be a squared, and then 3 squared is 9. Okay, so something like this. So again, we could do this one, and I'll do this one the long way first. So negative 2b to the fifth 4 times. Oh, what just happened? Of course it did. Sorry. So it's negative 2b to the fifth. I'm getting to the end and it gets a little cranky. Those are all 5s. All right, you know that. So you multiply negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So that would be 16. And then here we have 5, 5, 5, 5. So there's 20 b's. So again, so what you're doing here is you're raising negative 2 to the fourth power. And it's important, if you put this in your calculator like that, you put parentheses. And then b to the 20th. Okay, so remember the 2 has a 1 as an exponent on it. All right. So let's do this one the shortcut way. So what you have to remember is that there's a 1 on the 4. An exponent of 1 on the 4. So it's 4 to the third, x to the sixth. Then you can just put 4 to the third in your calculator, which is 64, x to the sixth. Moving on. Let's do them all the shortcut. So all you have to remember is if something doesn't have an exponent, that you put the exponent on. So there's a 1 there. So it's 2 squared, a to the 6th, b to the 18th. So I'm just multiplying that 2 into each one of those. So 2 to the 4th is 4, and then bam. Then this 3, this negative 3, make sure you put this one in parentheses. So it's negative 3 squared, a to the 14th, b. And remember, this is a 1 here on the 3 and the b squared. So negative 3 squared is 9. Bam. All right. So give the rest of these a try. There's a couple of them for you to try and see how you do. Adios.